This is an emergency alert broadcast from an off-world alien transmission relayed through our operatives here on Earth. It is believed that the zombie virus that has progressed to the avian poultry products, which caused the recent drop in availability and rise in prices, has escalated and infected the deer population in the surrounding central northern United States. To give us more details on the matter is the one who was chosen to be the cipher or key component that activated the geometrically aligned shields in 2012 that averted the solar flare disaster that was a collaboration effort between an interstellar species, your creator and your ancestors. For more details on this we shall provide the information. Zachariah Sitchin was not allowed to clearly finish due to the sensitivity of a truce between two warring species and maintaining its stability. After the Great Anunnaki War, that was recorded in our ancient legends as the separation from God, the two civil warring factions of the ancient architects designed their bioweapon clone army of Merkaba, cloned Greys, to carry on their conflict for them. After they destroyed their homeworld on Phaeton and nearly running each other into extinction, the two warring civil factions left their clone army to continue their war as they receded into cryostasis to preserve themselves from total annihilation. These two Merkab factions became known as the Pleiadians and the Draconian species. Taking up a new homeworld to base their conflicts from and using their clone-augmented abilities to naturally adapt themselves to any off-world atmospheric hazards, their appearance became altered to adjust to the harsh climates of their new homes. The Pleiadian became pale, luminescent, skin-toned with elongated necks and oblong cranium due to the gravitational force there and the dual-orbiting suns within their world's skies in the galaxy of Solaris. The Draconians became reptile-like with hardened scale-like skin due to the harsh weather on WASP 182b that orbited closely to a star that would soon turn into the red giant we know as Betelgeuse, forever changing the destiny of this species into the scattered intergalactic conquerors they become known as. Scavengers without a home, the Draconians develop cyborg-like technology that turns their enemies into technological slaves and come to Earth enslaving its population and forcing them to mine their world of its natural resources until a revolt against the one they called Ra occurred. The revolt led by the Pleiadians, Enki and Enlil, freed humanity from bondage by developing a genetic chromosome that overrides their control frequency, giving mankind true free will in defiance of the Draconian regime that enslaved them. That was the false narrative used to cover the truth out of a necessity for peace.
The figures of Enki and Enlil were that of the two cosmic legends of the original species of the two beings that slept within their home stars of Alpha Centauri A and B star. One of those whom their people had made an agreement with that led to the terraform vessel to be sent to this planet. This is the true history. The initial war prompted by their Anunnaki creators waged on until they two had almost wiped each other out. During a time of peace between the two species, a colony was established on an off-world project that they had discovered that held technology still functioning from their creators. This colony was called Lemuria, or better known in your legends as Atlantis. This colony's purpose was to discover the source of an emergency transmission that was listed in their archives to have been two fighter pilots that had last been seen near this world during the war. Since it involved wreckage from both sides and in an effort to uphold a truce, a colony of both sides was established to search for the wreckage. Data is unclear from this point, but it has been established that some sort of catastrophe occurred that destroyed the colony, leaving scattered wreckage and very little salvageable technology left for the survivors to use. There had been a group that was on an expedition investigating a possible sighting of another species technology present on this world when the event occurred that destroyed the colony. This expedition was led by one of the high-ranking commanders of their colony and had discovered the terraforming vessel's wreckage from the situation with the dinosaurs. They established the cause of its major damage was by the reptiles who had torn a hole through the side of the hull and ruptured the main power cells. The ship was still operational but lacked enough power to continue or complete its mission, forcing it to shut down. The commander had established communications with the ship's onboard computer and was devising a plan for repairs when the disaster at the colony occurred. Knowing they were stranded without any means of communicating about their survival and a rescue ship being sent in time before their supplies ran out and suffocating to death, the commander worked with the ship's computer to find a way to mutually benefit each other. TH ship informed him of a catastrophic disaster that the simulation system had detected that jeopardized the project but much further into the future, far from their era. So the ship agreed to help them by placing them inside what cryostasis storage units that had not been damaged by the dinosaurs if they agreed to assist in designing an artificial shielding system that could shield the planet from their solar flare event that it had discovered in its simulation program. Using a method of metallurgy and chemical fusion, they designed a low-level temporary power source that could keep the ship's systems operational long enough to put into place a set of geometrically aligned atmospheric shield arrays that would create a pattern of shielding large enough to cover the surface of the Earth when activated. Using salvaged parts from both the damaged vessel and the destroyed colony and genetically augmenting some of the indigenous population to help build the structures that would house the shielding array network and keep it safe from any simulated disasters that the ship saw as potential threats, they finished their project and then were placed in their cryostasis units, along with their survivor that was originally on board that had died when the ship lost power. Hundreds of thousands of years later, in the earliest of Egyptian history, this species' ancestors came searching for the survivors' cryostasis tubes to take them home and revive them. They were both curious and astonished to find the other remains of the original stasis unit and designated that particular unit under their name of Ra. This occurred around 6500 BC and they had left with specific instructions to the Egyptians, but what that message exactly was has also been lost in the archives. This whole scenario became a very unstable subject that often caused any truce between the two species to fall back into conflict, and so the entire subject was sealed and highly classified to them both. In fact, this is their most information that has been compiled and allowed to be known since the entire scenario first began. Yet I am being led towards their seeing the wisdom in my words about revealing and documenting the full truth so that no more misconceptions can arise from its obscurity. Now going back a little to detail what happened beyond our world between these two species. More information on that can be found under the reference topics of the 2012 Mayan calendar and the Egyptian meeting with the interstellar visitors around 6500 BC. The cipher was an activation mechanism hidden among you to begin the startup program at a specific time to warm up the system that was set in place. While he had access to its system, he had scanned through the information available in its archives and may have more information on this subject.
The information that was available on file involving this subject of the original coronavirus strain was that it was a controlled release measure as a defense against the dinosaurs at that time. A variety of dinosaurs had managed to cause a breach by overloading the shield emitters with constant bombardment, weakening the shield, and then breaching the hull. They then tore a path through the hull and into the power core, causing severe structural damage, which in turn led to a radioactive containment leak into the atmosphere. This leak contaminated the atmosphere of this planet, which led to a mutation cycle which developed into the climate shift cycle that occurs every 36,000 years and causes this planet's ice age events. Due to this event, which jeopardized the mission it was sent here to do, which was to seed and terraform various life on this world in an effort to try and save their species from extinction, the ship activated its defensive measures and released the original coronavirus strain into the atmosphere to eliminate all reptilian life at that time, and was designed to only be contagious to the reptilian species. The virus was cleansed from the surface through the ice age that soon followed after burying the virus deep within the ice sheets where it lay dormant for millions of years. That's all I could gather about the origin of this virus, as the ship would not allow me any further access to this subject. Further files involving the strain's purpose of design was a replicant bioweapon contingency protocol. measuring the possibility of it failure to its mission. It designed both a means to eliminate the threat while simultaneously providing a means to restore the purpose of its mission by seeding a new form of life on this world through the entire coronavirus stage of its cellular cycle. It infects and kills the host but also collects its genetic data, duplicating and adapting its information, evolving itself into a replication of the best qualities of the infected hosts. The final stage of this replication process was us, Homo sapiens, as we are the compiled replication of every species on this planet. That is why our genetic structure and chromosomes consist of a patchwork of every animal hybrid on the Earth. We have the traits of reptilian, amphibian, avian and mammalian species here along with others, and this is why. It is also the reason why we are so indifferent to the original mammalian man and the evolutionary gap that occurred over 40,000 years ago when Homo sapiens first began to emerge here on this world. And that is the goal of this coronavirus strain as well. It will evolve and gather its genetic data as it did when it created us, and a new species shall slowly begin to emerge, most likely from the sea first, then evolve into a surface-breathing species, and into a new, more efficient version of mankind further ahead, long after we most likely will have passed. That's all the information I was able to access.
It is believed that the key factor that has caused this viral evolution between species to be that of a new variant strain of the progressing coronavirus strain, this being the 9th variant strain following a long, incubation-like dormant period while it underwent a type of cellular mitosis. Currently it is gathering more and more cellular data as it is changing and alternating between different bacterial types available through its previous variant strains. Recently you may have noticed that your general common cold bacteria that are infectious to both animals and humans alike have been changing slightly, causing a slightly more severe infection than most normal cases. This increase to the common colds and flus are being caused by the evolutionary cellular mitosis stage of the virus gathering all available data to increase its efficiency before entering its final stage in the 9th.
One last point. Does the coronavirus replicant have any sort of countermeasures to contain or control it? Yes, of course it does. Considering the expected eventual release of the coronavirus from its frozen containment within the ice sheets, the ship designed and embedded a countermeasure to the replicant bioweapon in case it should ever begin to threaten the project and its mission. Seeding the countermeasure within an life form whose very chromosome structure defies all logical reason, and when holding the replicant cellular structure up comparatively to the platypus, extracting the chromosome structure's pattern and composition and applying it to the coronavirus replicant pattern, the platypus chromosome will begin to perfectly negate the patchwork replication of its host's compiled genetic data, causing a total structural loss to the chromosome and ending the replication cycle, eliminating the replicant cell altogether. It does not specify the effect this may have on fully developed hybrid species designed through this replicant cell, only that it is a countermeasure for the progressive variant stage cycle of its development.
Sorry for the inconvenience. We are experiencing technical difficulties. Please stay tuned for your regular broadcast program to resume. For now, here is a word from our sponsors.
Good afternoon, I'm Richard Newbury. Reports are coming in that yesterday's rioting in central London have now spread to large areas of the capital and parts of the southeast. These reports started late last night, and we are at the moment receiving unconfirmed reports that London has been sealed off by the military, who were mobilised 2 days ago. We now have this report from central London, which was recorded in the early hours of the morning.
It's quite unbelievable what's happening today. Mass hysteria has hit London. Riots have been happening all day. Nobody seems to know what the cause of the violence is, but it seems to have hit the entire capital. Emergency services are at full stretch and riot police have engaged in sealed off most of London as far as the M25 motorway.
We have since lost contact with our reporters, so we're unable to bring you a live feed. The Prime Minister has dismissed claims that violence reported on the continent is in some way linked to civil disorder in Britain, although it would seem we are in no way isolated in our reports of widespread rioting, which has been reported throughout Europe and Asia, where many governments have declared a national... We have a report we believe to be from an Italian news station recorded sometime over the last 2 days.
Buonasera, siamo in diretta dalla città di Napoli dove tutto sembra essere peggiorato. L'esercito ha imposto il coprifuoco e tutti sembrano essere agli arresti domiciliari. Questa epidemia sconosciuta sembra essersi diffusa molto più rapidamente del previsto, nonostante i tentativi del governo di bloccare l'accesso del paese e di tentare l'uscita di questa epidemia dalla città. La città di Napoli sembra essere un campo di guerra. Molte persone la notte scorsa hanno tentato di lasciare la città, ma non tutti ci sono riusciti. Alcune persone si sono dirette verso sud, provocando così numerose code sulle autostrade.
The Italian Prime Minister has strongly denied the validity of the footage and called it a shameful attempt to undermine the government.